It's time for TWiT. This Week in Tech, episode 248. Coming up, Jason Calacanis, Brian Brushwood, and Patrick Norton. As I try to talk Jason into jumping, he talked me off the ledge and deleting my Facebook account. And why hasn't he deleted his? We'll also talk about Google and a lot more. It's This Week in Tech next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Audio bandwidth for This Week in Tech is provided by AOL Music and Spinner.com, where you can get free MP3s, exclusive interviews, and more. Video bandwidth for TWiT is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com. This is TWiT, This Week in Tech, episode 248 for May 16th, 2010. Drowning in Connectivity. This Week in Tech is brought to you by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to publish a high-quality website or blog. For a free trial and 10% off your new account, go to squarespace.com/twit. And by Audible.com. To download 2 free audiobooks of your choice, go to audible.com/twit2. And don't forget to follow Audible on Twitter at audible_com. And by GoToMeeting. Improve your conference calls and keep everyone on the same page when you share your screen with GoToMeeting. For your free 30-day trial, visit gotomeeting.com/twit. It's time for TWiT, This Week in Tech, the show that covers the latest news of the week. All the tech news all the time with interesting, unusual, strange people from around the net. And, well, you can't get much stranger than Jason Calacanis, ladies and gentlemen, from Mahalo.com. Hello, Mr. Chairman.
Hello, how are you, sir?
Chairman of the board, I am well. Welcome back. Good to have you.
Great to be back on the program.
Yeah, you never really left, but it's good to have you back.
Brian, I think they need to share a video on your side, by the way.
Oh, you don't see me?
Not yet.
Okay, let me just get you back here. No, I'm just kidding. Let me just turn on the video now that I've expressed myself. Okay.
I have this vision of Armageddon when the Russian space astronaut is running around kicking things to make them work so they can go back to Earth.
Heal, quick, fix it. That's Patrick Norton, my friend from the Screensavers. Hello, Patrick.
Hey, I'm also at Techzilla.
Yes, he's got a new show for the last 5 years.
Tough to watch the screensavers these days outside of YouTube.
You know what's funny? I have, and I will play it for you a little later on, the first Patrick Norton screensavers.
The Windows 98 explainer before.
This was the day Kate left.
Oh wow.
Or the week or whatever, because I keep saying, oh, Patrick's now the host. It's from April 2000.
Well, you have it like on old school DVD. How adorable.
How adorable. And you know,
quaint.
it's funny because I have a lot of nostalgia. By the way, that's Brian Brushwood. Schwood. We know him as Schwood, the host of the great NSFW on this network, and of course, Scam School on Revision 3. Hey, Brian.
Howdy.
Calling from Austin, Texas, yes?
Yeah, considerably less travel this way. I mean, not that I don't love being there in studio.
No,
in the
we
cottage.
love you on the Skype, too.
You know, I'm upstairs.
Actually, Skype is doing it. I haven't tried it. Have any of you tried the new Skype 5-way thing that they just put out in beta?
Well, it's for Windows only, I believe, at this point. You got to hold off on Mac. And unfortunately, like, I literally don't have any friends that are using PCs for their Skype.
Really? Friends don't let friends use PCs.
I'll be glad to call you, Brian.
These are, Skypeosaurus is all Windows XP machines, actually. So I have to try it. So none of you, have you tried it, Patrick?
I have downloaded it on another machine. I have not. I haven't had anybody to call, so maybe I can call you later on, Brian, and we can see who else will join.
It'd be fun.
Well, I'm scared to upgrade because last time I upgraded, totally hijacked. We had to do an entire show using Uvu instead of Skype, so I'm kind of scared to.
Oh, that's bad. Mess
with it on this PC.
Yeah, on this old screensavers, I review Wi-Fi access spots in like $1,300. Here's Patrick Norton.
Real presenter. Maybe that's what. No, it's not the presenter.
I think we're answing questions here.
Patrick, if you can't find it, I don't think anybody.
You have not aged one day.
I look the same. There's Patrick. He looks the same too.
I look 12 in that shot.
You know what's funny though is that for all the nostalgia we had about the old days at Tech TV and screensavers and all that, this was kind of a crappy show.
Why do you say that?
It's not that good. It's just a couple of guys standing around in a basement answering questions
totally
about.
Unlike This Week in Tech.
I was wondering who was going to take that shot.
And look at the because we had the NetCam Network, so we had to have the double box, and they had to be on the phone.
But I still remember right before the Nielsen's came out, and it's like everybody knew that the traffic, the ratings, we were going to get crushed in the ratings because none of these internet people actually watched us on television, and the ratings came out, and the numbers were surprising for a lot of people.
Yeah. I think there's about the same number of people listen to this show as watch the Screensavers. I think it's almost exactly the same.
Have you guys gotten over, like, I would imagine you have some deep-seated rage at the way everything crumbled at the height of your awesomeness with the Screensavers. Like, do you feel vindicated now? Are you guys relaxed, or do you still want to kick the corpse of those who opposed you?
No, dude. The best way to think about it is the guy who's responsible for See,
that laugh tells me it's not over. That laugh tells me that
you're talking about the famous Charles Hirschhorn.
No. We don't need to bring up names. Just the guy who's responsible for bringing Tech TV and combining it with G4 pretty much bled $750 million out of Comcast before eventually signing for the Star Trek reruns to be chopped into strange pieces and have double box push stuff put on them, which annoyed all the people who would actually watch Star Trek like 6 weeks before the box set DVDs came out, and he got fired.
And you know where he went? He went to a channel called Retirement Living TV.
And in either case, he's probably still worth more than the two of us put together and multiplied several times. Yeah. He had his mission, and we were not part of it.
Actually, I'm a little worried because his new company is called TV Live. Uh-oh. Anyway, with that, no, I don't know. I'm a little bitter.
Sure, you know,
I didn't notice what with the laughing and the maniacal.
I'm a little bitter. Yeah, I'm a little bitter.
Look, nobody's happy when you spend six and a half years of your life busting your ass building something to have it, pretty much ripped out of your hands and turned into something completely differently. But
it's going okay now. We're happy. We're happy, right, Patrick? We like what we're doing.
Hey, we have a lot more access, a lot more households, and a lot more control. Yeah, which is really nice.
It's going okay. And as I said, as many people listen to this show, this one show, as watch the Screensavers, I think on the best day was 225,000 people, and we got about 200,000 people on Twit. So.
That is amazing. And do you know? I don't know how much you're able to talk about, but are those numbers continuing to grow? Because it seems like podcasting as a pie is continuing to get bigger. Are you seeing a commensurate increase in your numbers? Obviously, with the TWiT network is expanding and expanding. But like This Week in Tech specifically.
Well, you know what? The numbers had kind of, by the way, we've chased Jason completely out of the show.
He's out of here.
He's gone. That's it. That's the top of his chair. Oh, there he is. He's back. We'll talk a little more about this, then we'll actually get to some news. There is some news. In fact, I owe Jason a big thank you because he talked me into doing something which he himself has not yet done.
Committing suicide.
I jumped. Jason! And he's still on the ledge. I don't understand. But we'll talk about
close.
You're close? Yeah, we'll see. We'll talk about that in just a second.
Probably going to happen this week.
Okay. You should save it for May 31st, and I'll tell you what all of that is about in a second. But let's complete the thought, which I've completely lost now. I have no idea what we're talking about.
We were talking about numbers. But
numbers. Oh, yes, they have gone up. I believe podcasting has plateaued, actually. I think that most podcasts that I know of flatlined about a year and a half, 2 years ago. There's some slight, we were doing like 1% a month, something. It's very slight growth. Then we released video of this show and most of our shows. And I was afraid initially that would cannibalize the audio and it would be a zero-sum game. It'd be, net nothing. But it turns out it did in fact increase the audience about 20%. Now, that may be, don't tell the advertisers, it could very well just be, although, now our numbers come from uniques. I was afraid that maybe they were downloading audio and video, but no, come to think of it, the way PodTrack counts our numbers, it's unique IPs. So we have 200,000 unique IPs, up from 175.
Like iTunes does a good job of purging people who aren't really watching the content they download.
Right.
So if they really are listening to a full episode and watching a whole episode, I can't imagine that.
If you skip 5 episodes, you stop subscribing in iTunes.
Right.
So it's my belief a little bit self-serving. But it's my belief that, in fact, going to video did help. And, of course, we're doing a lot to promote and expand. We just hired Tom Merritt. His last Buzz Out Loud was on Friday, and he'll be joining us in a couple of weeks. And so I think we're kind of growing. We're going to do an iPad show. I think that's going to do very well. How is your iPad show doing well, Jason? Does that get good numbers?
It's pretty extraordinary. I think it's getting over 100,000 downloads each episode.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking for us. There's another one that's doing 50. So, I mean, if you pick the right topic, the Google show did 50 out of the box. So if you pick the right topic, I think you'll do well.
Yeah.
Speaking of Google,
I think it's just starting, actually, the podcasting thing. I think it's going from this sort of like incubation phase, and it's going to be mainstream.
Well, you know better than others. You've been through this with blogging.
Yeah, I think...
you think it's analogous?
It's very analogous, I think, because there was a sort of hobbyist moment in blogging, and then there was the professionalism moment, professionalization of it moment. I think you were the first person really in Rev 3 to professionalize podcasting. And then blogging, it was obviously Gawker, Weblogs Inc. Were the first people to professionalize it. And if you look, there's only maybe one podcast or two podcasts about every topic that are published on a consistent basis. And they generally don't have technology behind them, a sales team behind them, a management team behind them, social media behind them, all the stuff that in order to scale this is necessary. And right now there's, I guess, 3 people or 4 people doing this. And to me, I think it's just starting.
I'm not sure it's completely analogous, partly because you've also got these big media guys who want to play. And a lot of the biggest podcasts are NPR and other mainstream media outlets. That wasn't the case with blogging.
Yeah, I was going to say it's almost podcasting as a concept is kind of it was a you certainly tried to change the name of it, Leo, and that didn't work out so well. But podcasting's dead because you're no longer restricted to downloading through iTunes. People are using set-top boxes. People are using, Blu-ray players can access, directly. Most Blu-ray players now can directly access video even through RSS streams. Widgets are coming up on HD TVs. I think it's gone from being like you need this really specialized piece of software and you're going to download this cool radio show over the internet to, hey, you know what? It's right up there next to, my set-top box, next to my Netflix, next to HBO, next to DirecTV or whatever it is. In that sense, you're kind of competing against all the big names out there, and it's all just video that happens to be distributed.
Ultimately, it's going to be, in a way, we could say victory because we'll be treated roughly as a peer with mainstream media, but it isn't going to be us, and then they're going to fade away by any means.
Did I hear right? Did I hear you say that the term podcasting was dead? Like, have we settled on a new...
No, I killed podcasting years ago, and you know why? I knew that we were going to be, for instance, doing live streaming. What do you call this? What do you call the live stuff? It's not a podcast.
Podcast.
It's a show. It's always been a show, and
it's just a show.
The name of the show has nothing. It should not contain the means of distribution because there are multiple means of distribution.
Right.
Correct. Absolutely correct.
I said that, but
it is its own category of consumption. TV is something you sit down and give your full attention to. Radio is something you have on while you're driving around the car. There's got to be some different word for the fact that it's what's on your iPhone while you're pulling weeds or
the thing is, Brian, is most television sets are still on in the household on average 8 to 10 hours a day, and you're not telling me if there's somebody sitting in front of that television for 10 hours scope locked on the screen and its activities.
No, certainly not. But
for certain programs they are.
And I think that's something that's part of the reason there needs to be a different word for it is because there's a different level of commitment and involvement on new media. Like look at the chat room. We're over 1,000 people right now watching us live. The level of user engagement is so much higher that there needs to be a different term for what it is we're doing here. If not podcasting, then something.
One common complaint about podcasting and this kind of stuff is that all we ever talk about is podcasting and this kind of stuff. So let's stop.
Let's talk about Twitter.
Let's talk about Twitter. We don't talk enough about Twitter on the iPad. How about Facebook? That's the story. And in fact, and we're going to get to Google I/O too, because Google I/O is Wednesday, and I think Google's up to something. And there's a lot of tech news. So we're going to get to all of that in just a second. And I owe you, Jason, a debt of gratitude. I'm going to go back onto the ledge and ask you how you're doing there in just a moment. So don't go anywhere else. Before we do, though, I do want to mention our friends at GoToMeeting, the folks from Citrix have done it again. They do such great products, GoToMeeting is their online meeting service that eliminates your need to travel, and it takes that boring conference call and makes it something engaging. You know, you see us here, 4 of us talking, we're seeing each other, and with GoToMeeting, you're seeing the screen of the person you're talking to, you're seeing the PowerPoint. People are visual. A conference call, it just doesn't engage. If you've been on a call where people are wandering, they're playing Tetris or answering their, I guess it's not Tetris anymore, it's Farmville, isn't it? They're answering their email. You got to try GoToMeeting. Everyone on the call is more focused, more interested, more engaged. You will save time. You'll be more productive. You can get out of that meeting faster for sales presentations, for product demos, for training, for collaborating, weekly update calls, just upon any kind of conference call. I think you got to try GoToMeeting, and I'm going to give you a chance to do it for free for 30 days right now. Just go to gotomeeting.com/twit, GOTO meeting.com/twit. Citrix gets better and better all the time. They really know what they're doing. 128-bit SSL encryption, 24/7 support. It's the easiest thing to install, easy for your clients, which is important. You don't want to make them jump through hoops. Try it right now. 30 days free.
The best part, too.
What's the best part?
It's available on your iPad.
Oh, have you tried it?
And it works.
It's so bizarre. Cool to do GoToMeeting on an iPad because your microphone works, the audio works. You don't need a phone. You're just holding it. Yep. You could on Wi-Fi. I'm sitting out in the backyard on a meeting. You're right. Like I did miss the best part.
It's like an AT&T like You Will commercial when you're like at the beach. You'll be at a meeting at the beach, and it's like, oh, here it is.
It's true.
GoToMeeting, iPad, go to the beach.
Will anybody ever sit at the beach having a meeting? You will. And it's true. It's the
imagine going through a toll booth at 65 miles per hour.
Those are fun, aren't they? Watching those ads.
We got to pull those up.
You know what's funny is that almost all of them actually happened.
Oh, they all have. It's just like one of them was going through a toll booth at speed. One of them was taking a meeting at the beach. Another one was like watching TV on your phone or watching a video on your phone.
GPS directions. The only one that really didn't happen is the one where the woman's in the phone booth making the video call. You know that we haven't
thousands of miles away.
Yeah.
Across the country.
What's that?
Without stopping for directions.
How does that work? Whoa! He knows where he is.
Or send someone a fax.
That's an iPad. That's a freaking iPad.
From the beach.
Yeah, but the iPad can't send faxes, can it?
True, it's true. That app's it's coming. It's coming. Yeah.
Do you want to send faxes from the beach? Do you really want to send faxes from the beach?
Have you ever paid a toll?
Sending a telex.
Without slowing down?
Yes. No, I didn't need a card. I just drove right through.
He just swiped his card.
He swiped a card.
Bought concert tickets.
You have to do it at the exact moment.
From a cash machine.
I've done that.
What's funny is like those.
This is the one. This is the one. Nobody ever does that, and nobody ever will want to.
But you know what? iPhone HD front-facing camera.
You know, isn't that interesting? And the new Evo has a front-facing camera too. And I'm starting to think
that's what I've been wanting. That's what I've wanted every generation of the iPhone is the front-facing camera. I want that Dick Tracy two-way face-to-face conversation, and it's never happened until this is the year. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I have that on my iPhone 4.0. It's right here.
Oh, yeah?
You lie. You said he's doing it again. Don't listen to him.
It's incredible. I mean, it's incredible.
Did you see that?
$20 that says they don't activate the front-facing camera on AT&T, Brian.
Oh yeah, right.
Oh,
You'll get it.
If we get a note from AT&T saying with video chat capability coming later this year, along with tethering.
Right, exactly, tethering.
Yeah, when tethering shows up,
we'll do it all at the same time. Have you ever talked to somebody on your cell phone and seen a picture of the baby? You won't. Not on our watch. You won't. Look at that cute little baby.
Have you ever watched jerky video of your baby? Have you ever had your?
See, that's straight. That's straight out of 2001: A Space Odyssey, and it's still, it didn't happen in 2001 either. Here's one more. These are.
Have you ever opened doors?
I'm home.
With the sound of your.
So that hasn't really happened either.
Happens in my car.
Oh, you talk to your car and it opens? Or no, you don't even have to. It just get near it and it opens.
The fob, yeah.
Yeah, the fob. And Schlage makes a lock that you can use your iPhone to open the door. So
no kidding.
Yeah. Well, you know what's even better?
To get locked out of your house.
No. Don't have your iPhone.
Battery's dead on my iPhone. I can't go home.
But I was thinking of putting it on the front door of the cottage because if somebody calls up and says I'm out front and I can't get in, I don't have to come down. I just go, okay, and you do it from the iPhone. I have one of them. I just haven't installed it. So I guess that's close enough. That's a you will or you do.
Our card, please. Carried your medical history in your wallet.
Not yet, but soon, right?
Well,
Is
yeah,
that
we
Tom
already kinda
Selleck
have that.
voicing this?
Who is it?
Or attended a meeting.
Who is that? That does sound
Tom
familiar.
Selleck.
It's Tom Selleck. in tight short shorts.
Doing, but in your bare feet.
And they have a few other ideas.
You will.
All of these things came true. I think that's the funniest
And
thing
by
in
the way,
world.
so many of them happened because of the experience you get with the iPhone, which was only available. AT&T was the first network to have those things, so they kind of fulfilled on their promise for all that.
Actually, I think when these ads were made in 1993, they'd already signed a 20-year deal with Apple.
With Apple, they're like, listen, you guys are going to come back from the dead, and you're going to create a magical device, and we're going to have the only one, all right?
You will.
Go. Next.
Actually, that's another story that I don't know if it's a real story. That was it Gizmodo? I think it was Gizmodo again. Why do they keep coming up with these? They said, we looked through the court papers from last October, and Apple has a deal through 2012 with AT&T, except, of course, that was 3 years ago. Maybe they don't anymore. Anybody believe that the iPhone will ever be on anybody besides AT&T in 2010?
In 2010, I'm
year.
going to say probably not.
Jason, you must know. He's not saying. Oh, your mic's moved. Yep. Duh.
I don't think they will.
You don't think so?
I thought that was a clever way of you
I think it's too much
avoiding
money.
actually saying anything. I was like, for some reason, my mic's not talking. I don't understand.
Yes. I actually have the answer. Steve Jobs just told me on text. He said, "Tell everybody we'll only be on AT&T."
I think what's happened is that AT&T keeps sweetening the pot, and Apple keeps saying, "Well, we're going to Verizon," and then said, "Okay, you can have $30 unlimited on the iPad, no problem, month to month, no problem, anything you want." Because they're making so much money. I mean, 1/3 of new.
I mean, how much?
Yes,
I guess
1/3 of the new customers to AT&T over the last 3 years are new. I mean, 1/3 of their customers are new buying iPhones.
Yeah.
It has propelled them to as close to you get. I mean, Verizon's gone down, AT&T's gone up. On the other hand, Verizon has now said, we don't need the Nexus 1. We got the Incredible. We got the Droid. We got the Aris. Sprint is coming out with Sprint may be back, baby. This new Evo.
That Evo, it's the first time that I've ever regretted being an iPhone user, where I was just like, oh, that would be so awesome. I kind of wish I was on Sprint. And I'm like, what am I saying? Who am I? What is this?
It's a really nice phone. I get to handle one at CTIA this year.
You've held one?
I've held one. I've used one. Screen spectacular.
4.3 inches.
Yeah, it's a really nice screen. It's a really nice device. I'm a little I was actually at first I was a little bummed that it's going to cost the built-in Wi-Fi router is going to cost you $30 a month. Then I realized that that's half the price of getting their wireless broadband for a 3G 4G overdrive modem. So I can kind of see the angle they're playing on that one.
They're also going to charge $10 more for 4G, even if you can't, like if you live in San Francisco, if you can't.
Oh, no. They're charging a $10 fee for all network access to give you an unlimited cap on 3G. Everybody who has 4G is an unlimited cap. They're going to charge you an extra $10 a month to basically take the cap off of the 3G bandwidth. Because currently, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, Sprint finally fell in line with AT&T and Verizon and capped your monthly downloads for their 3G modems, which kind of broke my heart a little bit because I had an unlimited bandwidth plan with them. Now the unlimited bandwidth plan is back in kind of a weird way.
You were always a Sprint fan, Patrick.
Sprint's done, Sprint customer service on the telephone side of things actually is why I left Sprint.
Yeah, their service. That's why I left. Their service was so bad. But I loved the Sprint PCS, and I liked their phones a lot. I was sad to leave.
And the Sprint, I've been using the Sprint data. The Sprint data has been generally speaking, incredibly fast and incredibly solid pretty much everywhere I've traveled, even in the sticks. In theory, Verizon's got some more network coverage, but their bandwidth was slower. And, AT&T, everybody who owns an iPhone, raise your hands. You kind of know what the AT&T data plan lifestyle is like, so I never even thought about buying an AT&T data modem. The overdrive is a really neat piece of hardware. I'm just kind of waiting for 4G to roll out anywhere near where I live, closer
Supposedly, San Francisco by the end of the year, they're trying to push it. But I have a couple of Portlanders in here, Justin and Justin, who, and this was my experience in Vegas, we seem to agree 4G is in most cases no faster than 3G, and in many cases slower.
I wonder how much of that is the website, the implementation, or the location.
Well, look, Vegas is a Sprint town, And it was a heavy 4G promotion. Clearwire.
Were you there at CES or?
I was there at other times as well as CES, and it just sucked. But you're right, CES, it was really terrible. But, I don't think there are a lot of Sprint users at CES. They were all iPhone users. And you guys are in Portland, and you said the same thing. It again, location specific, but even at its best, not particularly good. So I have yet to hear somebody go, 4G, it's great, I love the 4G. It's all hype, it seems to me.
Well, at least it's uncapped.
Uncapped is good, and as opposed to the unlimited 5 gigabyte that everybody else does.
I mean, at times, I know when I come to San Francisco, I stay just outside of SFO, but the hotel has terrible Wi-Fi, so I actually use
3G.
Tethered iPhone, right. And I get like 1.3 megabits down on that.
3G ain't bad. Yeah. Well, supposedly, so Patrick's talking about the fact that Sprint is going to allow you to use this as a Wi-Fi access spot, this Evo, up to 6 devices using the 4G or the 3G if you're in a 3G area.
I think it's actually 8 devices.
Is it 8?
It's 8.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a little MiFi.
It is. It's a 4G MiFi.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna buy one of those. I think
the battery.
The demonstration, they had 2 of them side by side, live streaming on Quick, and it looked amazing. And of course, that screen is gigantic. It's a really pretty phone.
Yeah.
So I am seeing some people in the chat room. I am seeing some people in the chat room who are saying that they like 4G. Big E John, how fast is it though? Rob Schneider, hi Rob, big fan. How fast is it? That's the question. I mean, it's people say, "Oh, I like it," but what does that mean? Now, let's get some numbers. Anyway, the phone, just for the size of the screen and the fact that I have to say, Android is coming on strong. The latest stats from NPD say that there were more Android handsets sold in the first 3 months of 2010 than there were iPhones. Eric Schmidt last week at the shareholders meeting said 65,000 Android handsets a day, dwarfed by Nokia, dwarfed by other companies, but still respectable, right?
Well, and continuing to grow. This is what you get when you create an open platform. This is kind of the PC versus Mac debate of the early 90s all over again.
This is what happens when Verizon spends $100 million in 1 quarter to promote a single phone and spend a lot of time promoting
because it's not just one phone. It's like you've got the Incredible and all these the phones are the subcategories, but the brand in general, I think, is doing very well. And it makes me wonder, what has Apple done with its lead for the last 3 years? These tiny incremental increases of the capability of the iPhone are nothing compared to the leaps forward that the Droid's doing. I can't believe that I'm even considering getting a phone besides the iPhone.
Well, I agree, and I've been using a Nexus 1 in lieu of an iPhone for months, and I've been very... Didn't you switch to a Nexus 1 as well? Oh, you're muted again. Sweet. Jason,
muted.
We can't hear you. He's chattering away. He's going on and on and on. Oh, you know what, Jason? This time, it was my fault.
Check. He said your fault, was it really?
Oh, I'm sorry. I had you turned down because you dropped off, and I turned you down to call you back, and then I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jason.
No problem. No, I have a Nexus 1, and I found that I stopped using it because I couldn't get some of the applications I had on my iPhone, and so now I'm basically iPhone and BlackBerry and iPad.
Well, I have the iPad, so everything I really, if I need something, I use the iPad. I love some of the Nexus 1 apps are great. Mint is now on Nexus 1.
Yeah. I feel like I'm drowning in so much connectivity now because I have.
We're drowning in connectivity, isn't it?
It's amazing. I have the iPad and I have my MacBook Air, my desktop, and my iPhone and my BlackBerry. And the real loser has been my MacBook Air, which I just opened today for the first time in 3 weeks.
That's not connectivity, Jason. That's a lot of toys. Connectivity is bandwidth, 3G, Wi-Fi.
It's just ways to accomplish the task, and I find the iPad is the most delightful way to check my AdSense for the day, or the analytics, or Chartbeat, or email. It's really nice to just read email at the end of the day or in the morning on my iPad. I'm shocked at how much I love the device. And as pissed off as I am about it being locked up and all the other things, that email thread with Steve Jobs and the Gizmodo writer, where he's like, "Listen, our idea here is to make things work and user experience, and we have the best user experience. And what have you accomplished in your life? Nothing, so shut up."
Wasn't that incredible?
I love it. I mean, people are like, Jason, how could you write back to one of your employees? You know, like when I told that employee to like, you know, like congratulations at being employee number 4,000 at Yahoo. And everybody's like, oh my God, Jason's so offensive. And then Steve Jobs writes like, you have no life. You've contributed nothing to society. I have done so much. We've done so much. You need to shut up now.
It's an amazing.
But he did it in such a classy kind of way. Steve Jobs struck this really careful tone where he even used the word "gosh" at one point. Like, he's just sort of like, "Golly, why are you so upset about all this?"
It was a very interesting exchange. Jobs. It's a different Jobs than I think I've ever heard of or met before. First of all, he's engaging with a stranger over email. I mean, this is the guy who's famous for somebody had a meeting with Steve Jobs. Jobs comes in. The guy says, "How was your weekend?" Jobs says, "Can we raise the tone of the conversation a little bit?" I mean, this is a guy who has no time for small talk. I think, and some are saying because of his illness that he is maybe a little bit of a different Steve. So
it's a 1 a.m. phone. It's a 1 a.m. email thread with like 4 back and forths. I mean, it's awesome.
It's incredible. It's Ryan Tate. Go ahead.
Testing out his new liver that night? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, with somebody else's liver. I don't know. No, let's not make those jokes. So Ryan Tate, 9:34 p.m., Ryan Tate to S. Jobs. And he had just seen the iPad ad talking about Revolution and Dylan. It says, Ryan says, if Dylan were 20 today, how would he feel about your company? Would he think the iPad had the faintest thing to do with Revolution? Revolutions are about freedom. Now, that's a very incendiary thing to say. If I get that email, I ignore it. At best, at worst, I might say, F you. Jobs responds, yep, freedom from programs that steal your private data. Freedom from programs that trash your battery. Freedom from porn. Yep, freedom. The times they are a-changing, and some traditional PC folks feel like their world is slipping away. It is. Now, you got to know all the subtext to really understand what that message is, but that's a very rich, 4 sentences or 5 sentences in there. That's quite interesting.
I mean, he's talking about Windows and Microsoft, and he's coming back, and
this goes on and on and on. In fact, at one point, Ryan writes several paragraphs, and I couldn't get through it. Steve responds.
Yep. The last one is the best. Read that one.
All right, so back and forth. We're now at 2:20 in the morning.
Yeah.
Ryan has written, and by the way, Steve's responding within minutes to each of these. Do you think it's really Steve? I think it is.
Yeah, I think so too.
Ryan says, I don't like Apple's pet police force literally kicking in my coworkers' doors. He's finally admitted that he works for Gawker, but I suppose the courts will have the last say on that, and I can't say I'm worried, which is quite a shot. Jobs' response, again, I think fairly even-handed. You are so misinformed. No one kicked in any doors. You're believing a lot of erroneous blogger reports. Microsoft had, now this is getting back to the Windows and Microsoft saying you can only use the Windows API. Microsoft has every right to enforce whatever rules for their platform that they want. If people don't like it, they can write for another platform, which some did, by the way. Macintosh was the benefactor there. Or they can buy another platform, which some did. Clearly, Jobs is a smart guy. He's leaving a lot between the lines, but it's very clear that he's talking about Mac. Mac was the benefactor there, or the benefiter there. As for us, we're just doing what we can to try and make and preserve the user experience we envision. You can disagree with us, but our motives are pure. That's very interesting because, of course, people impute evil motives. There certainly are pure reasons for Apple to do, and that's what they're doing, and they've always said these are our reasons. By the way, he says, and this is the shot, it is 2:20 in the morning. The bars are closed. By the way, what have you done that's so great? Do you create anything or just criticize others' work and belittle their motivations?
Damn,
and that's the
Steve Jobs threw that down.
Ow! Snap! Oh,
Booyah,
no, you
gotcha.
didn't.
But even then, it's like that's such a minor swipe, and that's after he's dedicated a half hour of his very valuable time. I mean, I thought it's very difficult to engage somebody who's obviously fired up over something and to come out looking so classy. And especially
Steve won. I would say Steve won here. Did he not?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Steve Jobs 4, Ryan nothing.
And it's funny because Ryan published it, but and Ryan, and it's published in Valleywag. Ryan is saying that he thinks that this freedom from porn line will resonate for years and will hurt Apple. That's the headline, but I don't think that's the headline. That's the takeaway from this. The takeaway is a new Steve Jobs who took a lot of time with a dick and in every respect responded not only appropriately, but I thought fairly coherently and fairly effectively.
Trying to change his position. He's actually trying to say, like, listen, here is my position. You don't have to accept it, but I want you to understand clearly why we're doing this. It's user experience, and malware and viruses and porn make people not want to use Windows computers, and the reason people are buying our computers is because they don't have those things. And I'm starting to see
it's not that they don't have those things. It's just they're finally getting a large enough user base to get the attraction of people that are violating it. And saying you can't get porn on the iPhone, as soon as they disable IP access and take
you can get porn. You can get plenty of porn. Take it from me. There's no lack of porn. I mean,
well, I think you're just talking about the application layer. The application layer isn't FUBAR'd. It isn't like malware everywhere. I mean, it's very hard to get a virus onto the iPhone. I mean, how do you do that?
Right. Now, he raises an interesting point, which says, and this, to me, there's some reflection to this to the Facebook guy, Elliot Schrage, who talks to the New York Times, and I'm going to get to that in a second, where he says, hey, you don't have to buy an iPad. This is how we do it. We're trying to create a vision. We're enforcing what we envision, but nobody's making you buy. It's a competitive world. You have a choice. That's the ultimate rebuttal, where it's just like, you don't like it, go somewhere else. That's what we're about. This is how we're you know what? When you start your company, you do it that way. You can't argue with that. It's not like Apple has a monopoly.
No, actually, I thought that was the best point in the whole thing. You don't like the products? Don't buy them.
Nobody's making you buy it. And here's the good news. There is solid competition from Android, from Google. I think Windows Phone 7 is going to be pretty dynamic. Yeah. There's BlackBerry's not dead yet. WebOS, Palm, HP bought Palm. They're alive. I mean, there's competition.
BlackBerry's by far the largest platform in terms of smartphone usage. It dwarfs both the iPhone and Android. So, although
Android's coming on, I mean, but you're right, BlackBerry's still
Android
the
is still a fraction of iPhone users, and iPhone users are a fraction of BlackBerry users.
And they're all a fraction of Nokia, of course.
Well, worldwide, the U.S. Nokia barely has a presence at this point.
No, and I have to say, Nokia's struggling.
In the U.S.
we're talking
primarily.
about smartphones too.
You can be dominant. You can be dominant in terms of sales and still be struggling, can't you? You could be number one today and still be in trouble. Am I wrong, Jason? I mean, isn't that the case? The trend is not their friend.
There are plenty of examples, like Yahoo was, number 2 in search and had a huge market share and just slowly watched it ride down. Right. AOL, 30 million user accounts down to 3 million user accounts. I mean,
you could make a case that Apple's had that happen. Yeah. All right, well, I want to take a break. We got to talk about Facebook, because there is a direct correlation between what Steve Jobs just said and what Elliot Schrage just said in the New York Times last week, and I want to address that in just a second. And I still want to talk you off that ledge. Can I get a jump? Before we do that, though, I want to talk a little bit about Squarespace. Our good friends in New York City, Squarespace.com. They do a site that is just really made for somebody who wants to create a website, not just a blog. Photographers use it for their portfolios. A lot of businesses are using Squarespace.com. It's the secret behind exceptional websites, and you could try it for free right now. No credit card needed. Go to squarespace.com/twit. We're using it for our Inside Twit blog. We're redesigning the website for the radio show in Squarespace. The reason is every Squarespace site looks gorgeous and different. Look at the examples at squarespace.com. You'll see you can make a site. And you know how sometimes a Drupal or WordPress, you just know immediately when you get there, oh, that's a WordPress site. No question. I defy you to look at a Squarespace site and say, oh, that's a Squarespace site. They just are gorgeous. That's because Squarespace starts with fantastic templates and then gives you full CSS and JavaScript capability. You can use the templates. You don't have to mess with them. But if you know what you're doing, you can make the design sing. Squarespace's virtual servers make it easy to create a site that never falters. That's why some of the biggest sites in the world use Squarespace. And affordable, yeah, as little as $8 a month, but I'm going to make it even more affordable. Save 10% for life when you use our coupon code TWIT. Try it free right now. You don't need a credit card. Just go to squarespace.com/twit. You'll find the best web software anywhere, server and software. Great stats, an iPhone app that just kills. Seamless blog importing from WordPress, Movable Type, TypePad, and Blogger.
On that iPhone app, what's great about it for me is, they do Schwood.com, and again, like you nailed it on the CSS customization. You cannot tell it's
No.
It looks amazing. But what's funny is I always intend to find out where my traffic is coming from and how I'm doing, but I never think to do it when I'm at the computer. It's always when I'm sitting on a bus or waiting for a plane that I just decide to poke in. The online app looks it's phenomenal on the iPhone.
And I can see you use their Twitter plugin. I mean, they have a lot of social media plugins. This makes it very easy.
It's so easy as well. Yeah. And I love the fact that my website organically, automatically updates based on my other postings on other things.
That's nice.
So that people going to the website get a new, fresh feeling every time they go.
Yeah, that's really nice. Did you do the design? Did you have somebody come in and do it?
Well, I had an older website that had some elements that are here, but they when we signed on and they became a sponsor of Scam School, they had one of their CSS ninjas put it together, and he just nailed it. It's amazing.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
God, it's gorgeous.
And it's easy enough now that it's set up. I can actually create entire new pages and update the content. It's good for me who knows just enough to be dangerous.
Well, you can, if you want this column to be wider, you just drag it over. I mean, it's really, really simple. Anyway, give it a try. It's free for the next 2 weeks. Squarespace.com/twit. You don't even need a credit card. And 10% off. We all have our coupon codes. Use mine. When you listen to NSFW, use Brian's. When you listen to Scam School, use that one. When you listen to Texila, use that one. Squarespace.com/twit. TWiT for 10% off for life. And actually, it was you, Brian, who told me that's for life. I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
that's what I get.
Which can add up because it's like you don't jump ship from one platform to another when it comes to your website very often. Right. So that definitely adds up.
Make it worthwhile. You bet. So Jason, you wrote. I thought anybody who doesn't subscribe to Jason's newsletter is really missing the boat. You publish this thing how often? Weekly?
It depends. I took 4 months off when London was born,
oh.
And then I came out of this fog and I wrote literally a dozen pieces. And I've been refining them, and then I release them like one a week. But I've done about 4 in the last month. So I would say weekly is the max, and then, probably monthly is.
By the way, Weezer,
every 2 weeks.
No age,
yeah.
Okay?
I know. I just found that out. I'm basically.
You buzzed this, and I said it's Weezer without an H. You geezer.
What do I know? I mean, it is a little ridiculous that I'm going to nursery school benefits and Weezer's playing in the backyard.
If Weezer shows up, I'm there. It's
basically, Weezer's kid goes to the school.
Oh, that's neat. Which Weezer? Which Weezer?
The lead singer.
We've had Jeff Wilcox on the show a number of times. He's great.
But anyway, the newsletter is at Jason Nation. I basically set up a listserv, and there's 23,000 people on it. And yeah, it's a way for me to have intelligent dialogue with people because the open web is just not a good place for that anymore.
You stopped blogging. You stopped allowing comments.
I basically do like photo blogs on my personal blog. I put up photos or videos, but when I put stuff on the open web, I just get every stupid person or mentally disabled person. They all feel
always politically correct. Jason Calacanis, ladies and gentlemen. You just called your fans mentally disabled.
It's not the fans, it's the trolls. It's basically everybody who I've either fired or beaten as a competitor, over a 20-year career feels the need to check in on everything, and it just becomes this dialogue of jaders.
I know. I know what you mean.
It's just like if I send it on email, I'll get replies back from CEOs, and they'll write 500 words or 1,000 words, or VCs or pundits. It's a much better dialogue for me. I get more out of it. So anyway,
can I find this Facebook issue?
Yeah, it's what did I say, Jen? What did I call it? I forgot the title.
You've been zucked.
I know, something like.
But we talked the last time you were on TWiT. You pretty much said the same thing that Zuckerberg.
We've been talking about this 6 months ago, right?
Yeah, you said that Zuckerberg was. Well, I like the analogy here. You said he's overplaying his hand. It's a poker analogy. I know you're a very serious poker player. What do you mean?
In poker, when you think your hand is stronger than it actually is, and you bet like you have the nuts, the best hand. And you behave that way, a lot of times somebody will turn over cards and you find out, gee, I didn't actually have the best hand.
You think about all the ways you can win.
But not the ways you can lose.
And not think about enough about where the risks are.
Yes, and the risk with Facebook, I think, is a repeated, and people really attacked me on TWiT because I said I don't trust Zuckerberg and I think he's got an ethics problem. Well, I think the chat transcripts that have come out, all the lawsuits,
did you see that?
The behavior of his organization show exactly that.
Right.
And people don't trust him, and they don't trust the service, and they should not. And, you know, if you say Facebook to people, I think, and do word association, the two words people will say are Farmville and, you know, like lack of privacy or not trustworthy. That is a terrible thing to have your service pinned with, is being the untrustworthy service, the service that violates your privacy. And it's the first company, I think, in the history of the internet and technology that has been pegged as the place to lose your privacy,
right.
You know, and the place you can't trust. And
now,
that is not
I've got a question for you guys. I've got a question because it's, and maybe I'm way off base here, but it seems to me like this may be a branding issue, because back when MySpace was still a player, it was MySpace versus Facebook, and Facebook was winning because it had a reputation for being able to keep your stuff private.
Yes.
By default, everything was open on MySpace, but you could say things on Facebook that you wouldn't want your mom to see. And that's why people were melting down when their moms would actually join on Facebook and they had to see, you know, these pictures of what they're up to.
That was the change in the newsfeed, yeah.
How much of this is because they built a reputation for being good at protecting your privacy?
Well, there's privacy and privacy. There's privacy like mom not seeing your posts versus privacy like whether or not third-party applications, internal databases, whether or not your actual information goes away when you delete your account, actually being able to delete an account. You know what I mean? It's like the overt level is like, mom's not going to see my post because mom doesn't have an edu address, ha ha ha. And then it's, you know, a secondary level of or lack of privacy would be what's happening to all the information on there. Can you refuse to have third-party applications use your information, or some of the second-party services that work with Facebook? There's a lot of layers to privacy going on here.
Have you seen this Will Moffat site, Open Book, where willmoffat.github.com, he's using the Facebook API. So this is all legitimate Facebook searches, and he gives you a few samples like cheated test and lost virginity, and shows you that what people obviously think this is private. And it's not. And, you know, this was a concern. I read your post, Jason, and then I talked to my family. I talked to my kids, and I said, you know, you can use Facebook. It's fine as long as you understand that everything you post on it potentially will be public, whether through a lapse, through a change in policy. At some point, it may become public. And so my strong suggestion to them was, go ahead and use it. Just only use it as you would use Twitter, where everything is public.
Right.
And they don't want to do that. They said, no, but that's the whole point, is that we can have private conversations on here.
If there was a viable competitor to Facebook today, I think we would see their numbers tanking. Well, the problem and the issue is there isn't really a viable competitor out there who does private.
Well, you know, like the diaspora that they're trying to put together. Terrible name, by the way. Terrible, terrible name.
Well, you know, you understand it's the wandering tribes of Israel. It's the diaspora, right? So we've left Facebook, so we're wandering in the desert. So they should probably have called it Oasis, not diaspora.
Well, that's the problem. It's like MySpace means something. It's a word that means, oh, I get it. It's a place that's mine. You know, Facebook, oh, I get it. This is my public perception. This is my face.
Well, it's a project.
Google, I knew that meant search.
Yeah, right. Well,
some Brads are obvious. Some Brads take effort to establish.
It's a bad name. It may not be the name of whatever they come up with. And you know what? It's just 4 NYU students who thought, oh, this would be, you know, we'd like to do this. They asked for $10,000. Have you seen what it's up to now?
Oh, dude, there's no doubt that this is addressing a very pent-up demand. Like, they have nothing. They have no product. They've got the URL.
They're in school still.
But people are throwing money. They're like, yes, please create an alternative.
I gave them when I gave them $100. As I deleted my Facebook account, I gave them $100 just to say, just kind of more of a statement than anything else. They were at I think 23,000, already doubled what they'd asked for. They are now at 171,000.
Oh my God, this is turning into an angel round of financing, and they don't have to give away any equity. This is all a donation.
Equity? They don't have to have a freaking design.
You don't have to have a product at all.
You know what Ken Shepardson, our CTO here, said? He said they should write 50 lines of PHP code and go to Belize. They got no commitment to do anything.
Yeah. But it does speak volumes to the fact that people feel like Facebook has double-tricked them, double-crossed them, and they have.
It sure does.
It started as the closed service, and we had the discussion of, hey, we've changed our service to protect you more. Click here to say okay, and have all your stuff become public. I mean, it was the ultimate bait and switch.
This guy's the next Mark Zuckerberg. Look at him. I can tell. Yeah. I'm not trusting my data this guy.
If not them, I can tell you there's a lot of high-level discussions going on right now in Silicon Valley, and I've been pulled into a couple of them. And
what would you do? What would you do to do it right?
Well, it's very simple. You just come out with it and say, I'm creating a new version that is Facebook, a new social network that is by default private. And if you want something to be public, you have to explicitly do it. And we promise that you will get a warning dialog box that you will have to click to make something public. And it's simple as that. And we will never change the default from private. It'll always be private. And, you know, the point is absolutely correct. If they had just stuck with one thing and not become obsessed with, you know, the public-facing Twitter, which is really what drove them. And this is the other reason I really don't care for Zuckerberg, is because I feel like he's just chasing.
You know, he's just
chasing everybody, and he's so. The thing that makes me crazy about him is you can tell he's so brilliant and such a good executor on things, and has such low moral fiber that's a really dangerous conversation, I believe.
Do you think he's immoral or amoral? Do you know what I mean by the difference?
Absolutely.
Is he evil or just lacks ethics?
I think he is, and I said in my newsletter, Asperger's like. I was very careful to say like because I don't want to diagnose anybody. But I don't think that he cares or particularly thinks about the users. I think he thinks about building a huge $100 billion company and becoming the next Bill Gates. And he thinks about himself, and he thinks about what would make the biggest, most powerful company. And it doesn't ever occur to him, well, what did I promise the users? And gee, if other companies came up with these great ideas, should I really be, you know, incorporating them into my product like this? Maybe I should try to buy some of these companies. I mean, there's sort of a gentleman's rule in the Valley where, like, if you were going to knock off Foursquare, you would at least go to them and say, hey, listen, I think your features are great. I'm inspired by you. Maybe we buy the company. You know?
I think you did that to me. I think Jason actually did do that to me. Just before you...
Yeah, just before I stabbed you.
Yeah, it was right before then. Oh, now he froze. Okay.
Oh, okay.
No, Jason and I are buddies. We've never stopped being buddies. And yes. I don't know what that was another case of just kind of things spin out of control a little bit. So, and I'm a little sensitive to, you know, when people like Facebook say, look, this is bloggers, it's out of control. In fact, they even said, it's the media that hates us. Our users love us.
Yeah, the users don't know.
That's because they don't know.
They don't know.
That's why I deleted my Facebook. I did not deactivate it. I deleted it. I deleted my private page and our TWiT page and our public stuff. And the reason is not because I don't know. I know exactly, you know, I only post stuff that's public there. I'm not worried about my privacy. I'm not worried about them selling my data.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about them misrepresenting their policies. I don't want to coerce other people into participating in Facebook because that's how they would participate with me. I don't want to be a shill for Facebook.
So you used the word coerce, which I thought was a little bit strong. You're not physically threatening them if they do. You listen, you need to use the Facebook. I mean, it's like you are giving a tacit endorsement of it, which maybe you're uncomfortable with. But I mean, I think coerce is a kind of a strong word.
Nah, but look, if you want to see that picture I posted on Facebook, or you want to see that video I posted on Facebook, or you...
How about compel?
I think coerce is exactly the right word in my mind because I'm incenting people to join Facebook in order to interact with me. You know, one of the things I was doing is, you know, I had two accounts, a personal account and a public account, and with 5,000 fans. And those people, we were wishing them happy birthday, right? Because we know what their birthday is. It says, you know, 30 people a day, it's their birthday. It's that kind of interaction that we were offering that you don't get anywhere else. I don't wish you happy birthday on Twitter. And in a way, that's, if you want to be part of that, you have to be. It's the same thing with Farmville. There's a subtle coercion, Brian.
I still have a problem with the word coercion. And again, I understand if you don't want to be associated with it, that's one thing. But to say that somehow you're forcing someone against their will, I mean, unless
not against their will, not against their will.
Brian and I have both worked in nightclubs. Coercion usually involves like having to donate some of your, you know, gates so you can get your equipment back out the back door. There's usually just a stronger association with that.
You're right. I'll use the word encourage. Is encourage okay?
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, am I the only one who has a really hard time anytime I see Mark Zuckerberg's name now, divorcing this person from the character portrayed in The Accidental Billionaires? Like, now that I've read that book on Audible, actually,
Yeah.
It's so damning of him that it's just like, it's hard for me to separate that.
Isn't it interesting, though, that all the things that were like the recent IM stuff we're seeing all kind of coincides exactly with the way he's portrayed in that book?
It's hard not to notice.
Yeah, yeah.
It's pretty scary. I mean, and the fact is, the Business Insider has done an incredible job with these scoops, and I think that they have a source who was involved in some of the lawsuits.
You think it's Eduardo?
I don't know, and I don't want to even insinuate that I might know, like I'm an insider, I know, which I do sometimes. This is one of those cases where I do not know. Really, I don't. And I think somebody who's involved in that lawsuit who got screwed by him, and there's a long list of people now, right? Eduardo, Connect You guys, and a lot of other people. They have access to discovery documents. And discovery documents, for those people who don't know, when you're in a lawsuit, there's a period of discovery, and you have to legally give up all of this information associated with it. Like, so when these lawsuits happen, they might say, any communication with Zuckerberg we need, including your IM transcripts, including your emails, whatever it is. Well, the stuff that was really damning is he broke, according to this scoop, I don't know if it's true or not, but reportedly he broke into journalists' email accounts, and then he faced a Harvard ethics review, and he also wrote that IM chat transcript.
All of that was in the Accidental Billionaires, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, and also the IM chat transcript that said he was purposely going to delay the launch of Connect You site, which they paid him to build, in order to screw them and launch Facebook at the same time and set them back. By the way, that's like all fraud. That's like very high level fraud.
Well, remember, he's a college sophomore. He's a kid.
Yeah, you know what, though? That doesn't fly. If you're 18, 19, 20 years old and you want to be a billionaire and you want to raise hundreds of millions in the venture capital, you can't have it both ways. If you're savvy enough to raise tens of millions of venture capital when you're 18 or 19 years old, you know right from wrong. And if you did electronic trespassing and, some hacker who did it can go to jail for 5 years, you know what? Zuckerberg can. And so,
that's true. That's true. There's plenty of 18-year-old hackers who went to jail.
Yeah, exactly. And, I think this, like little bit of Harvard, glow on him, it, gets him a pass, and this, anointed by all these venture capitalists and being so effective at building product gives him a little bit of pass. And I think it built up his ego, and he is overplaying his hand, and now the chickens are coming home to roost. And it's in mainstream media now. And once a virus like this gets unleashed in mainstream media, and the movie comes out in a couple of months,
October 10th.
I think Facebook's done. So
this is the beginning of the downhill. Gosh, that would have 400 million users. How could it be done?
Well, AOL, 30 million users. I mean, how could anything get huge like that get done? And MySpace, got collapsed. People said Friendster would never collapse.
It's not going to happen until there's an alternative. People like you, Brian, need and use Facebook. It's a valuable tool for you.
Oh, absolutely. And I would like to point out that this exact scenario was posited on This Week in Tech like 2 years ago. I can't remember if it was Dvorak or who, but everyone was marveling at how big Facebook had gotten. And I think it was John C. Dvorak that pointed out, like, the problem is it's a fickle market. These are adolescents that are choosing one trendier thing over another thing, and that comes and goes. And I think the moment that something else, like out of the entire pitch that Jason put together, the most important word was new. Everything after that, I'm sure, is good, and privacy is good. But the moment the kids hear new, there's a chance there's another option. There's another way to go, especially when you have such a bad PR problem the way Facebook does right now.
So you think it's sinking in with real people?
Or at least the perception's reality, I guess. I don't know.
So May 31st is Quit Facebook Day. It seems to me that more people will join Facebook that day than will quit it. In fact, more people will join Facebook in 1 hour of that day than will quit it. In fact, maybe even more people will join Facebook in 1 minute than will quit it. I mean, it's thousands, maybe tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands. It's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, they're up to almost 2,000 people on quit Facebook.
So
Day.
When are you going to quit, Jason? You got me to quit. Jump.
I'm right now. I am considering it. And
why haven't you?
Well, I've basically my usage of Facebook now is limited to like syndicating marketing stuff from Twitter or whatever. I don't really use it that much, but I agree with your argument, and I think I'm going to clear out. I got to get my photos out of there, and then once I get my photos out, I think I may deactivate it this week because the truth is I don't get any value out of it. I really don't find it valuable.
Yeah, I don't miss it at all. I don't even know if it was much PR value, to be honest with you. In fact, I got more press requests. I got press requests from quitting from CNN, from CBC, from the several local television newspapers. I mean, Financial Times printed my name and said. In fact, one of the reasons I didn't do all those interviews, I didn't want to be known as Facebook quitting boy. I mean, I didn't want it to become my trademark, you know.
Well, can you really get your photos out of it, Jason?
Yes. Here's my suggestion, and one of the reasons I was unhesitant to quit is I'd been using Backupify all along.
Yes.
And this had, you know, I have all my Facebook stuff. If I go to my Facebook, you know, my Backupify account, and I look in my archives, I've got every photo, every video that I've ever posted there. Now, fortunately, I did this a while ago, so I don't even have to think about it. It was like there's nothing I've lost.
So they don't have archival copies stashed anywhere? And
Facebook? Oh, you mean is it going to go away because I deleted it? That's a very good question. I don't know.
I don't think if other people comment on it, I don't think it goes away.
No, it's right. It becomes an anonymous post that somebody's commented on.
Yeah, so it's like it's even worse. I mean, it's just like how slimy can you get? You know, it's like they're just the worst. And full disclosure, I'm an angel investor in Backupify, and they were at the Open Angel Forum, and I am backing it up there. So
well, you're safe. You're done.
I forgot. Yeah, so I think I can jump.
Yeah, I did. You know, I was actually very relieved when I thought about it. They've got everything in here. You know, and it's actual JPEGs. You know, I can actually see them. So,
yeah, this was a big controversy. If we were, and what will probably happen this week, unfortunately, is because I've been involved in some of these discussions. I don't think Facebook likes this backup feature.
Oh, really?
You can be pretty sure that now that you've mentioned it, it's going to be turned off.
You're kidding?
Yeah. It's been like a little bit of an underground thing, but other people who've built backup tools for Facebook or export your social graph have been shut down and sent legal letters. So
that's not good. Well, quick, folks.
We'll see what happens. Yeah.
Join backupify.com before the show airs. Those of you watching live, and for those of you listening, I'm sorry.
And for those of you who had,
you know, one thing people don't know.
And stuff like that.
There's lots of ways. And the truth is, I never posted anything I didn't have somewhere else. Because I knew that Facebook was downgrading the quality of all the pictures that you post there. Those are not full quality. So it's a lousy place to store pictures.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. So it's like you're quitting Facebook on principle because, as you mentioned, you're not worried about the privacy settings. To you, you use Facebook as a megaphone, right? And I think all of us are of the same page.
Yeah, we're the wrong people to talk to. Talk to my kids.
Right. Well, and that's who I wish was represented on the panel, because all four of us are the type of people who we're producers of content, not consumers, or at least we don't use Facebook as a.
Well, that's why I'm taking a bigger hit. You know,
I never used it as a megaphone. I started signing up for it and just realizing that there just wasn't a lot of value out of it for me. Plus, also, actually, I didn't particularly want the difficulties in locking things down for me early on. When I finally showed up on Facebook, I just didn't trust it.
Yeah. Look at this this graphic from Business Day in the New York Times. It was May 12th.
It's brilliant. I was actually going to bring that up. There's 50 different settings with more than 170 options. Facebook says they want to make privacy controls as granular as possible. The reality is it's a nightmare the way in the last couple evolutions of Facebook to try to figure out, with everything basically being default public, there's a ridiculous number of options inside of this.
You know what would be great, and maybe they'll do this on Diaspora, but what if you just had like 3 different orbits? You had the innermost orbit, which was your family, and you could place, it wasn't just you were a friend of them or you're not a friend, but you had like, you had your Mercury orbit closest to the sun, you had your Jupiter orbit where these are friends, these are colleagues, these are coworkers, and then there's the last orbit, which is people you met at a party and you kind of like, and you could very quickly and simply and easily decide what level of content you were releasing.
Well, and that's that opt-in versus opt-out. All they have to do today is bake it. And this was kind of the reason I think regular people don't understand the problem is they think this is still the case, that everything is private unless you say otherwise. And if they just said everything is private, if you flip a switch, you can make it public, but it is private, will stay private forever and ever. But they don't. In fact, this is the other part of the New York Times infographic. the Facebook privacy statement. In 2005, it was 1,000 words. Today, it's 5,830 words. It's bigger than the U.S. Constitution, twice the size of MySpace's, more than 10 times bigger than Flickr's, 5 times bigger than Twitter's. It's unreadable. Now, here's my question. Is this intentional? Are they obfuscating things, or are they actually well-meaning, and did they just kind of screw up?
I think this is all part of a master strategy they have.
You think it's part of being zucked?
I think we've been zucked, we've been suckered, we've been Zucker punched. You know, it's his process. I think his process is.
Brian, do you think Facebook's evil or just confused?
No. First of all, you guys got to get a grip. First of all, Facebook's a private company; they'll do whatever the hell they want. And if it agrees with the user base, then they're going to get away with it. If the user base doesn't like it, they're going to move on to something else. And this is a fickle market to begin with. This is something where, through no fault of Facebook's own, a lot of people gave up on Facebook when their mom joined, and that's not something that Facebook can control. The nature of these social sites is that people are always looking for the next big thing. And it may be that clearly everybody's piling on right now, but it's like, as far as, you know, is it right or wrong or morally right or wrong? It's like you vote with your dollars and you vote with your feet, and people are going to go somewhere else if it's a big problem. And if it's not, then Facebook will be fine.
Yeah, it doesn't forgive them from acting unethically and doing the baiting switch, and from having a leader who people don't trust. So you are correct. People will vote with their dollar. And what we're seeing right now is that process is happening. And if there is a viable competitor that is even just on par, you will see people leave over the trust issue. And this is a good sign. And you know, people have wondered, when will people care about privacy? Well, guess what? People are starting to care, because I'm talking to normal folks and they're like, I don't trust that Facebook. So the same way you can dupe people and be like, oh, Facebook's private, and they don't know it's not private, you can actually dupe people the other way, and they'll be like, oh, you can't trust the Facebook. You know, that's not a trustworthy service.
Somebody in the chat room was complaining that I was saying that perception is reality, and in many things it shouldn't be, or it isn't. But when it comes to a social network, and especially fads, perception is definitely reality. And it'll be interesting to see how Facebook tries to spin this one.
Yeah, they have not handled it well to date. I mean, they literally say nothing about it. And when there was the big comments about Zuckerberg saying people are so stupid, or whatever he said in his IM transcript about the user base when he was a kid or younger.
It's like, on the one hand, you know, we all know that's totally unfair and taken out of context, but on the other hand, there's a reason that we're also giddy to see that, because it so perfectly encapsulates the suspicions people have about Facebook, about Mark Zuckerberg.
Patrick, Facebook, immoral or just ill run?
You know, I kind of lean towards the private company pushing to get his. I don't know whether it being privately held has a whole lot to do with it, but I think they're just pushing to maximize, you know, their revenue opportunities. And if you know, amoral, sleazy. I prefer sleazy to calling on morality, but you know, it's certainly sleazy. And I think a lot of cases, most people don't care. I'll be really curious to see. You know, it amazes me what people post on, and there are still people using MySpace, but people post on MySpace and Facebook and are shocked when somebody reads about it. You know,
it's an interesting. It's a larger philosophical question, because I think corporations, as opposed to individuals, are fundamentally immoral. Corporations are amoral. They're designed to maximize profits, and yet corporate governance. Look what's happening to Facebook. Corporate governance would, you would think, you maximize profits also by being good. Right?
By serving your customer. And clearly, at this moment, whether it be in the way they're handling the PR or whether it be the very decisions that they're making about privacy, they're clearly not serving their customer base at this time.
We're going to take a break, come back with more. I was trying to see if my mom was on Skype. Mom, if you're watching, get on Skype, because there's a normal person. She's actually not that normal.
Does she have an iPad?
Every time I Skype in, we get your mom on the show.
Because she loves you, Brian. I'm trying to hook you two up. No, because I'm just curious. I think, as I remember, when I started talking about this, Mom sent me a note saying, how do I get off the Facebook?
How do I stop this thing? It's crazy.
I want to get off the Facebook. So I'm going to see.
Everybody's liking everything. What if I don't like it?
Who's
I don't
that?
want to have to like it.
Stop poking me.
What? This is crazy.
You keep poking me.
I put a photo. Everybody's got a comment. Everybody's got something to say. That's why I like photo albums better. There's no room for comments.
No, I don't want to hear what you have to say.
It was a perfectly good technology when it was in a photo album.
I want to talk a little bit about Audible.com. This is. Here we go again. Here we go again. Jason loves that Audible. Audible is, of course, the bookstore of audio books and shows and entertainment. 75,000 strong and now plays on 500 different devices. Still working on that Android version. I'm sure that's soon. But until then, of course, every other device, including your Kindle, your Zune, your iPod, iPhone, iPad, all the iDevices, iRiver, the Sansas, many GPSs as well. And I'll tell you, I love Audible. We should really actually make Accidental Billionaires our pick.
I don't know about that. I have another book.
Okay, go ahead, Jason. Well, go ahead.
I have the kid now, and so I'm trying to catch up on things. And, you're busy, and I have the Audible 2-a-month subscription. And I'm like, wait a second. There's a lot of books on being a parent. I need to start listening to these. I don't have time to read them. And this is important information, like, in fact, critical. So I got Nurture Shock by Poe Bronson.
Oh, I love Poe Bronson.
Book.
Yeah.
And this
amazing
book is fantastic. I am so glad I found this out. This book is going to make me a better parent. So if you are out there and you're a parent, you have no excuse. Get on the Audible and get the stuff on your iPad, your iPhone, and your desktop. And it remembers where you were it bookmarks it basically, even if you change devices. So I'll get to my desktop. It knows that I'm on chapter 5. I listen to a little bit on my desktop, then I listen to a little on my phone. And what a great book. It really talks about, this generation of kids where you say oh, you're so good. You're good. And actually that's not what you should say.
Right.
Even though you think you should say
too much praise. Yep.
Too much praise. You should be saying, describe their behavior. You did this.
Yeah, it's the myth of self-esteem they correct. Yeah. And a lot of other common, sense ideas in the late 20th century, and a lot of the really bad, they're basically correcting a lot of bad propagated ideas that have come out through the media and other places in the last 20 years. It's a spectacular piece of book, and it's also based on a lot of spectacular research.
Yeah, we interviewed Ashley Merriman, his co-author, who did a lot of that research on Jumping Monkeys, our mommy cast, and fascinating. Really great stuff. Although, a word of warning, if you are the parent of adult children or teenagers, it's too late. And you may not want to read this because you've already screwed up. And there's pretty much nothing you can do right now. So if you're a parent of a young child, like you, Jason, it's okay.
Or if you're a parent of an older child, listen to it with them.
My kids are screwed up.
And then you can have the cathartic effect of saying, hey, I didn't know.
I blew it.
Don't hate me. I blew it. Don't
hate me. I blew it. Maybe I should I'll play this for Henry when he's sleeping. Your parents suck.
Your parents
they
had
praised
no idea what they're
doing.
doing.
He's funny. He totally knows about this stuff.
Yeah.
He talks about the soccer trophies, where everybody gets a trophy. He totally knows. This has somehow sunk into the psyche of teenagers. Thank God. Nurture Shock, a very good recommendation. New Thinking About Children. Accidental Billionaires, that's the story of the Facebook founding, starting at Harvard. A fascinating book.
Listen to it before the movie comes out.
Yeah.
Critical to listen now, because then you can see the movie with having actually read the book.
Right.
So much better. One of those guys that's just psh, book was better.
We interviewed, Dana Brunetti's a good friend of the show. He is Kevin Spacey's partner on Turkish Street, who's producing the Accidental Billionaires movie. We interviewed him and the author of Accidental Billionaires on A Net at Night a few months ago. Really interesting, fascinating, and a great book. Audible.com. Here's the deal. If you go to audible.com/twit2, you'll sign up today. You'll get 2 books a month. This is the platinum account that Jason was talking about. It's the one I subscribe to. 2 books is a minimum for me. So I know people have multiple platinum accounts. They listen to so many books. If you have a big commute, that kind of thing. If you're rowing across the ocean, Roz listens to a book a day. A book a day. Because she's rowing the whole time. And she said, by the way, she rowed across the Atlantic without Audible. I turned her on to Audible for her row across the Pacific. She is so grateful. She said, my God, I couldn't imagine rowing across an ocean. She's going to do the Indian Ocean next year. She said, I couldn't imagine it without Audible. Audible.com/twit2. You sign up for the platinum account. That's 2 books a month. First month's free. So you get 2 books free. You can cancel at any time, never owe a penny, and keep that book forever. So this is 2 free books. Audible.com/twit2. For those of you listening outside the U.S., my apologies. This offer is available to you, but not all the books we talk about are, and I do apologize for that. And that has to do with the very complex world of publishing.
Book licensing.
That's crazy. Talk about antiquated.
Well, that's how authors get paid. They get paid per territory. So
right.
Everything's a negotiation.
So, yeah, well, you know, the audiobook may not be available in a country, or maybe a different audiobook in that country, whatever. Or,
God forbid, you had like a Tor server and you logged in and had an IP address from another country and created an account for Spotify or other services. You might be able to get around it somehow.
I never thought about that.
Well, as long as your credit card also agrees with the IP address on the Tor account.
Now, Jason, is that amoral or immoral?
That is practical.
Audible.com/twit2. We thank them so much for their support of This Week in Tech and all our shows. They've been one of our most staunch supporters all along.
Just a great product.
There's so many stories. I think it would be improper of me to mention the Facebook privacy issues and not mention the fact that Google's Street View was collecting data inadvertently, they say, from open access points, like 600 terabytes of data or something like that from open access points. See, there was due to a programming error in 2006. I don't know, most of you probably know this, that when the Street View cars are driving around, they're also mapping Wi-Fi access spots to GPS locations so that it's like a poor man's GPS. They can say, well, if you can see on your iPad or your Wi-Fi iPad, if you can see this access point and this one's stronger, oh, you must be here. They triangulate you. There's other companies like Skyhook that do this. So they were collecting this data. That's normal and perfectly legal. You're broadcasting. They would collect the GPS location, the MAC address, and the Wi-Fi access SSID. However, whoopsies, there was some code, and in the case of non-password protected Wi-Fi networks in Europe, the United States, and other major regions, they also collected whatever data was going through the air at that time and saved it to a hard drive.
But you got to remember, this is unencrypted data. This is the equivalent of. And first of all, isn't it? To me, it's a little bit hilarious that people are bent out of shape over this, while nobody has a problem with cars driving around taking pictures of your physical houses. Like we caught Patrick Norton.
Well, the Germans don't like. Yeah, that's right, Patrick. You're in the Street View, aren't you? Are you still in it?
I got to be honest. I thought this was masterful headline writing for a non-starting story, because I saw this and I've been using Gmail for everything except for my corporate account for years. It's all this information, Google Docs, my calendar. I'm like, some scumbag employee inside of Google is like rooting through people's accounts. And I get to the article and I'm like, they captured information from open access points. Who cares?
Fragmentary information.
If you're one of the 8 people, left in if you're one of the people that doesn't lock down your access point, congratulations, you learned a lesson. By the way, if you're on cable, if you have cable internet, all of your information that's not encrypted, to the point that you're connecting to is open and available. By the way, people can sniff your email. Wake up to reality.
How much data does Comcast have access to? Let's face it, as the ISP, massive ISP, they've got it all.
Yeah.
If you wanted to go after Google about a privacy issue, the issue is how long do they keep user data?
Right.
And that's the real issue that nobody's really been talking about. But I don't understand why any of these search engines need to keep over just a month or two of data. It seems very weird. I don't know why they should do it at all. They should.
I thought they were legal. I thought they had to retain.
So here's what happened.
18 now or something. 18 months, I think, and the EU wants
18
less.
months, I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
I have to say kudos to Google for they discovered this and stepped forward before it was revealed by others, and they immediately took care of it. It is minor. It was a story. They took a hit on it. I think you're right. I think it's a silly story, but they took a hit on it, and I think they handled it appropriately. And I think that's an example of handling an issue well, as opposed to the way Facebook's handled its issues.
Basically, they're building credibility by how they're handling this, as opposed to Zuckerberg, who continues to lose credibility.
Yeah,
they pulled a Jobs instead of a Zuckerberg on this one.
Exactly.
Speaking of Jobs, Apple apparently, according to Bloomberg, Apple did in fact press local police to investigate. In fact, we now know that Steve Jobs, in court documents, Steve Jobs called Gizmodo, said, "Give me back my phone."
Yeah, why? This is another story. I'm like, duh. They filed a complaint with the local police, and because they're Apple and they had a relationship with the task force, they called the biggest stick they had access to, and the task force went after these guys. You know, and maybe you guys can clear my head up on this, but I'm not feeling a lot of sympathy for Gizmodo on this one, because like, you know, I'm reading the EFF and they're saying it's the, you know, the reporter shield law and the, you know, and basically they're claiming the reporting shield law applies here. The warrant that allowed them to take the computers from Jason Chen's house is bogus, and I'm like, they don't really care. They just wanted to, you know what I mean? It's like, at what point is this a shield law, and at what point is this theft of property? And, you know,
I guess it's reasonable if you feel your phone was stolen, you call the cops.
Right.
Completely reasonable. And Gawker Media is abusing the shield laws, which were intended to protect journalists when, you know, there are times when for the social good you might have to break the law. And journalists have to be aware of that fact and pay the price. If you want to do that investigative story where you carry, you know, a knife through a security checkpoint at an airport, you have to be prepared to get arrested, you know, to prove your point. And if Gawker is, you know, so high and mighty that they prove some point about the new iPhone, when
they wanted to
would
prove that they
Apple,
could buy the 4G if they felt like it, and now they have, sir.
Right, and they broke the law, and for no social good reason, you know. And in fact, I think a lot of their motivation was to get into a criminal situation, an illegal situation. And I think this kid, Jason's from Gizmodo, I don't know him personally, is a dope or fabulously naive, because
he's a patsy.
Nick Denton is making so much money off of this.
He's a patsy.
And building his brand.
Yeah. And
this kid may go to jail or, you know, whatever, get a felony. And you know what? When you steal something, you should face the consequences.
Right.
That's what the law is for.
You're saying Nick should go to jail, not Jason. Jason's the fall guy.
But Jason did all of it, so Nick can be like, I didn't do it. This guy did it, and so he's a dope. And you know what? I feel that the law is a way of stupid people getting educated to reality. You know, it's like the lowest form of education we have. You can go to college, or the cops can pick you up.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good way to think of it.
That's what's happening here. This kid's a dope, and getting the EFF to protect them is stupid, because when we actually really have to use the shield laws because somebody has, you know, an important situation, we don't want them to go, oh, why? So you get more page views for the iPhone? You know, like, it's abuse of you know, something that is intended for something that is socially good.
All right, let's move around. We're doing a lightning round. Moving along. A quarter of U.S. homes only use cell phones. 25% of Americans don't have landlines anymore.
I don't even know why I have a landline anymore.
Yeah. Why do you need a landline? And here's an interesting stat. For the first time ever, the amount of data used exceeds the number of minutes used. People are using their phones more for data than they are for voice in the U.S.
My phone rang today, and neither of us knew where the phone were, and neither of us moved at all. It just rang and rang and rang and went to voicemail, because we both knew that, you know, if they care, they'll call the numbers that we answer.
If they care, they'll call our real phone, not this fake phone in the living room. Let's see. 4chan founder Moot raises. I don't know why a VC would give Moot any money at all. Maybe you can explain this, Jason. Raises $625,000 for a stealth startup called Canvas Networks.
VCs like backing young people who understand the viral nature of the internet. He is one of those young people, and I'm sure that the idea has some amount of merit and is probably in no way related to the 4chan debauchery. In the same way that Chat Roulette's founder
he's doing all right.
Become, you know, like, you know, the toast of the town. If you can figure out a way to go viral, you know, you know something. And so, would you rather give $600,000 to an MBA out of Harvard,
or Moot?
Or would you rather give $600,000 to somebody who already has a website that got a couple million people?
4chan.
Yeah, I was going to say he knows how to build an audience.
Yeah, 4chan gets 8.2 million uniques a month. At average of 800,000 new posts a day.
Yeah, he understands something, and so he's just got to take, you know, that insane, you know, energy that's there and put it into something productive.
In piracy news, LimeWire crushed by the Recording Industry Association of America and their infringement lawsuit. They were found liable of copyright infringement last Tuesday. They'll probably be out of business. The RIAA. Kimba Wood back in the news. U.S. District Court Judge Kimba M. Wood ruled that LimeWire's users committed a substantial amount of copyright infringement.
That's shocking.
Shocking. There's gambling going on in here. Shocking. And they had not taken meaningful steps to mitigate the infringement, so they're liable. The RIAA is seeking $150,000 per copyright violation.
Yeah, they want to put them out of business.
Yeah, let's see. They've got 50 million uniques a month, hundreds of thousands of users downloaded it every day, millions of active users in a given moment, times 150,000. That's good. That's a gajillion dollars.
So what'll be interesting is this is where it's politically safe and easy to go after. You go after the businesses that are clearly profiting on a model that is based on piracy. But as these giants get slayed, eventually they're just going to have to turn on the juice and go after all the indivial people pirating their movies.
Well, good news.
Mention that
the producers of Hurt Locker are going after
Hurt Locker, U.S. copyright. Sorry, I was the Hurt Locker producers freaked out. The Hurt Locker's made like 16 million U.S., maybe 42 million worldwide. Movie cost 15 million, and there's been zillions and zillions and zillions of downloads. They started 5 months before the U.S. release of the film, and then it went ballistic. It went viral after it won all the Oscars. So they've hired the U.S. copyright group to go after all of the people, basically to go after all of the ISPs for all of the BitTorrent traffic related to downloading copies of the Hurt Locker, and they're going to offer a settlement, and if you refuse, they're going to offer you a second settlement, and if you refuse, the company's history, the U.S. Copyright Group's history, is to then take you to court, go on a lawsuit. And apparently a lot of independent movie producers are looking at this because they're seeing huge amounts of traffic on BitTorrent.
They're seeing dollar signs in their eyes is what they're seeing.
Well, here's an interesting related story. The U.S. Copyright Group is suing over Far Cry, and Time Warner Cable says we're not going to give you the information.
I was shocked by this, seeing an ISP standing up against it was a massive 2,094 person lawsuit. And they basically said, look, we got 4 people who do IP lookups. We got 4 people. That's 3 months of their full-time effort. We can't do it. We can't do it for you.
They're going to have to do it because what's funny is the lawyers that work for the U.S. Copyright Group said like 75% of the ISPs they contacted complied immediately, and the ones that have currently refused to reply will have to once they're subpoenaed by the court, because at that point they have to give up the information, and that they were objecting because they felt it was a financial burden to just turn over the information. So apparently a lot of ISPs just immediately handed over the information to the U.S. Copyright Group lawyers. So I don't see Time Warner being able to back out of this once the court subpoenas the information.
That's why they call it file sharing, kids. Patrick Norton is the host of our newest show, of course, the host of TechZilla and so forth, but you're great on This Week in Computer Hardware, and I'm going to come by with Ryan Shrout.
I was surprised.
He is so good on this show, and it's all about, if you're into computer hardware, it's all about computer hardware.
But he's like, they had some issues a few years ago.
There he is, really Patrick Norton on This Week in Computer Hardware. If you go to twit.tv/Twitch, you'll see Ryan, Patrick,
I wonder if maybe
and now that Colleen is leaving, I'm gonna show up on that show more than once in a while, I think, if you don't mind. I can't.
Absolutely.
Wait. Yeah.
Doors always open, Leo.
Thank you.
It's your network.
You're the best, Patrick Norton. Patrick Norton also at techzilla.com. Make sure you watch. Let's not forget our great friend Brian Brushwood, who is also the host of a few shows, one on Revision 3 as well, called Scam School. What a great show. And also NSFW. Can I play a little clip from NSFW since I played a little clip?
I think this is we started a summer movie draft league, and if you want to see how we're doing, in fact, my co-host, Justin Robert Young, who you should have on the show sometime.
I love Justin. He's so good.
Dominating our fantasy movie league right now.
So you have to bid for a movie? Is that what happens?
Yeah, we all had 100 Brian Bucks or Justin Robert Rubles, and we auctioned off all the summer movies, and we're basically going to see at the end of the summer who got the biggest gross for the money they were able to spend, and it's all up at bit.ly.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
And then what is this here? You're eating food?
Oh my gosh, I think you opened the wrong clip here. This is clearly the episode. This is clearly the episode where we took our
make the kid throw up. This isn't one where you made the kid throw up, is it?
No. This is him giving up his vegetarianism after 2 years. And we did it in style.
And it looks like he's eating bacon.
Oh yeah, no, we got all the Rudy's barbecue. Austin has phenomenal barbecue.
I have to say, I really enjoyed the barbecue. Is this the dolphin that everybody's been telling me about right there? Is that the one?
Oh, you mean this guy right here? This is our tribute to the dolphin.
To the dolphin boy. All right, and here's your guess, and you're bidding now for. What was the movie?
This is on Toy Story 3, and it got up to $50. Actually, it went for it. Half his budget went to Toy Story 3.
Because now, does it have to be the biggest movie of the summer, or
no? You total up. For example, I bought all my movies cheap. I think I spent most like $18 on a movie, but I got 8 movies. Now, meanwhile, Justin, he got Iron Man 2, spent half his money on it, and so far it's looking like a good call. But like next week, we got Prince of Persia, and I got Robin Hood this week, and Sex and the City 2. I actually find myself rooting for Sex and the City 2, which is weird for me.
I want to. This is yeah. Are you going to actually?
It's pretty brilliant.
I don't care if you root for it. You're not going to go see it, though, are you?
You know what? I may send the missus. I was like, you ought to go watch that Sex and the City movie. I'm sure it'll be amazing.
Yeah, send the missus. My missus made me watch it. It was the 2 hours of my life I will never get back. Just the most horrible. My eyes are still burning. Shwood.com, SHWOOD.com. And it is a good insight into the mind of the woman.
Oh, you're talking about Shwood.com, right?
Yes. Jason Calacanis, always great to see you. Thank you for being here. Jason is, of course, the CEO of Mahalo,
yes.
MAHALO.com, also Calacanis.com, and thisweekin.com, where all of those shows that look just like our show live. And, well, why wouldn't they live there? Wait a minute.
That's not it.
See, he's stealing from you.
That's not mine. Who's that guy?
I don't know. That's thisweek.com. It looks like exactly.
We're doing the non-tech shows.
Okay, there you go.
This week stamp collecting.
This is Week In. Too many is's. There we go.
This Week In.
This Week In. Stamp collecting, also known as Startups. This Week in iPad. A whole bunch of great shows. And Kevin Pollak's chat show, which won the Streamy.
Yeah. It won a Streamy. Best production, yeah. It's really good quality.
God, I have such a crush on Justine Bateman.
She's been tweeting with me, and I'm like, oh my God, I got Justine Bateman is like tweeting me.
She's a big Twitterer. She loves to tweet.
This would have been huge in 1987 for me. It's still really cool. Don't get me wrong.
I always thought he was Schneider, so it's perfect.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is that the show she was on?
No, she was on Growing Pains.
Growing Pains.
Family Ties.
Family Ties.
Yes.
Anyway.
What would they do, baby?
Thank you, Jason.
Without us.
Thank you all for being here. We do a few shows. You can watch them all at TWiT.tv, including NSFW, including Twitch, and some more to come. And, of course, they're all on iTunes and the Zune store. And if you want to watch it live, watch it live.twit.tv. Our show, This Week in Tech, the flagship show, is done live at Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. That's 2200 UTC.
You gotta watch it live. Like it's the only show that I watch the way I used to watch TV. When the kids are running around, I always turn it on and just enjoy. I pay attention for a while and then I go over and play with the kids. And I love the live experience. It's different that way.
Yeah, you don't have to pay attention, is what he's saying.
Well, just nonstop. It's good. It's good Sunday afternoon listen.
Good Sunday afternoon listening, everybody. Thank you all for being here. We'll see you next week. Another Twit is in the can.
Doing the Twit.